airspace outside your door. That's owned by the government and it's national airspace, and any aircraft being flown in national airspace has to comply with their rules and regulations, and that is they have to be registered. If it's a commercial, the only difference between the registration is that registration number is tied specifically to a serial number of the aircraft. In hobby, you can get one number and put it on all the aircraft that you fly.
And it can go unlimited if it's hobby?
Excuse me?
Unlimited if it's hobby. You register it once and then it's
Yes.
hobby for
Yeah, and where you would register is FAA.gov/UAS. And on the right-hand side, there's a register aircraft. There'll be 2 slots, one that says for hobby, one that says for commercial.
So when we fly for, because we have RC planes, and we carry the AMA certificate of insurance, does that cover that as well?
No.
No, and I'm going to show you that. It's a specific study, an exam, and certification, separate in of itself. Yeah.
The AMA tried to get that passed.
Yeah.
They didn't do it. So they tried to get passed for hobbyists to be able to use your AMA number on your aircraft so you didn't need to go ahead and do it again. All right, they didn't make it. So you got to go ahead and spend your $5 and register.
There was also an incident that I just read last week where a broker had a neighbor who was a friend who said, I will not charge you, and went out, and the friend did the shoot. They posted it on the MLS, and 3 weeks later, I call them the Men in Black showed up, and that pilot was fined. He said, I didn't charge him, and they said the end user is posting for profit. So the image gets tracked to so that started, people started perking up with, they're serious about this. And to be honest, we're real serious about it too, because we want our clients doing business, whether it's us or anybody else, because the last thing you want, I don't want bad press. My business will suffer if you do business with someone. It's a negative, negative, negative. So to get everybody educated on what needs to happen, and who you need to be engaged with, and what the legalities are on their end, will definitely impact your business. So,
could I ask just a quick question? If it's a hobby and you register it as a hobby, and you take a photograph and you give it to them as a closing gift, so here you go, I'm not making any money.
So now here is the definition of what is commercial. Okay? Aerial photography is considered commercial. If you're doing something outside of going out with your kids to the park to fly your drone, that's not commercial. If you're doing a demonstration, if you're doing aerial photography, if you're doing inspection, those are all commercial operations according to the FAA.
whether there's money
So
or
profit
not.
or not?
Profit or not, whether money changes hands or not.
So like non-for-profit, you do some grounds, still commercial. So they really are, they're enforcing following the laws. They don't want any money yet, except for your exam fees, but they're serious about airspace.
In this state, it's pretty high.
So the guy in Minnesota, okay, shot a nonprofit event. That's the guy who's fighting for $55,000 because he did not have a Part 107. If he would have had a Part 107, no problem, right? And we can show all of you guys to get Part 107. Matter of fact, she'll go into it, but it's very, very easy, and unfortunately, I don't know why they did it. There's no practical experience required. Okay. You don't need to know how to fly.
So now, wait a second. Very, very easy. That's a very subjective coming from this guy, right? I need help getting the laptop cooking for this morning. It's very, very easy if you've got that technical mindset, and you've got, for instance, he's a pilot. So I sat through the ground school training. It was like you wanted to scratch your eyes out. There was absolutely, it was so tough to try and figure out what they were talking about because I have no practical experience with that. So airspace and calculating and all that, to me, I think that's a subjective statement. It's relevant to what your background is. If you've got that background, it's a piece of cake. If you don't, it's tough. It's a tough study. And I am pretty smart, and it was tough. So register each mission when appropriate with air traffic control. That goes into the Part 107 and the different arena with the airspace. So there's different ratings. Your service provider will go ahead and do all the calculations for you on what and that's what you're looking for, someone who knows the rules, knows the regulations, and knows the airspace on a particular shoot. So a shoot close to O'Hare Airport, whole different playing field than something out here. But the service provider with their Part 107 knows how to calibrate and calculate that, and that's all gotten and approved and good to go. And knowing the local laws are important. Right now in McHenry County and Crystal Lake, they're going by the FAA guidelines as far as commercial flight regulations. They have not put any ordinances into place yet for citations and people that aren't, it's just too new. So, you know, we check with the municipality prior to a mission, but if everything is, you know, for this, in the case of like Crystal Lake, we go with all FAA regulation, and that's all Crystal Lake really wants to know. So one of the things to look for with a aerial imagery drone technology company is the issue of, you know, being Part 107. I thought I had the airman certificate. I didn't. I had it on the other presentation. He'll show you what that. He'll show you what that license looks like. But what you want to look for is definitely someone who's a Part 107 pilot. The aircraft is registered. They can show you all this documentation. Someone who's a photographer and videographer. So just being able to man a drone and navigate it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be able to do justice on a particular property. Be able to edit the shoot once it's done. There's nothing worse than getting images that you can't post anywhere because they don't look good. So you want to ask them what type of photography and videography and software background do you have, what kind of equipment do you use, and a specific outline of deliverables. Before we went ahead and legitimized the business, we did a lot of market research on who's charging what. It is all over the map. So you've got, you know, a 17-year-old charging $149, does not have a Part 107, flying illegally, but it seems like a great idea because he claims he can get the estate for $149. Then we've got companies that are charging upwards of $2,000 to $3,000 for a property shoot. So it really hasn't stabilized yet, but we're hoping to be part of that as well as far as our pricing goes. Make sure that you've got a signed consent form. Typically in any realtor's agreement, listing agreement, there's your marketing piece. Says we're going to take photographs and yada yada and this and that and the other thing. Mentioning that, even if it's written in an initial, is a great idea. Making sure that there's a date range provided to the property owner. You know, so here's what we're going to do, an aerial shoot. We're looking to do it over the next 2 weeks. Keeping in mind that weather plays a huge role in a shoot. We don't shoot in inclement weather or in rain. It's an electrical system. We do show up in a marked vehicle, and we're really, because of the nature of this disruptive technology, we're very sensitive to neighborhood passerbys. We just did a shoot the other day where a family of 5 came running out with their cell phones. They thought they were, you know, the kids had the phones. It was just such a novelty. And we're like, you know, we're trying to get this shoot done. But what we do is we stop what we're doing. We explain to people who we are and what we're with. We put up a lawn sign, and we brand it specifically to our client. So if we're shooting for Remax, Premier, Berkshire, whoever, we'll customize that. So we were approached by one of the property dwellers at the last shoot who said, "Who are you?" And I don't know, she got a little testy, and we said, "We're hired by the realtor." And then, "Oh, okay." So we take the time, we stop what we're doing, we show them the equipment, we let them know that we're taking the scope of the property. Like you said, with the drone flying over my backyard, that's not our repertoire. If there's someone that's present and we're gonna use an aerial shoot, we will go to a neighbor if they've got their kids out and running around, and we'll let them know, do you have a problem with that? So doing it ethically with respect of the neighborhood and the people who aren't as, you know, up to date on what's going on as, you know, maybe a broker or their drone photography company is really sensitive. We let the property owner know that we're here for the shoot. If they're not there, which they don't have to be, we leave a dangler and a business card that says, "Here's when we were here." So if you get, you know, how many times has a neighbor said, "Well, you know, this truck pulled up and there was a drone flying around." Should be on the property 45 to 60 minutes, no more. I don't care really how big the property is unless it's multi-structure, or acres and acres. There's an initial walk. Every mission has a pre-flight, so all the equipment is checked, make sure it's working. Trust me, we don't want equipment going down as much as you or a property owner don't want it coming down either, it's expensive. So every mission, and that's Part 107 requirement, requires a pre-flight check, which we do. Typically what you'll get with any provider that we've market researched, as far as working with realtors, is you'll get 8 to 10 still photos, and you'll get a 360 review of the property overhead from about 30 to 50 feet. That's standard. What we found. There's companies that do way more than that and way less than that, but that's kind of the average. And like I said, once we finish, we let them know we're wrapping and we leave. Then it usually takes around 3 to 4 days to finish the product. Unless you want the raw footage, we can just upload it that afternoon, that day, whatever, and send it directly off to you if you have a graphics company that you work with, or a videographer or photographer, we can do it that way too. And any real aerial imagery company can roll that way. So if you've got someone that you prefer, they can give you that raw footage. Some just won't do it, but they have the ability. And then the digital assets should remain accessible to you for the life of the listing. So, you know, use it as many times as you want, post it wherever you can, and easy access, upload, download is what we give each and every one of our clients. So ask for those things. There's nothing worse than, you know, engaging with somebody and then you can't get your digital asset, or it's locked up somewhere, so that's fooey.
Quick question on that.
Yeah.
So you said for the life of the listing, if they take it off the market and then put it back on in the spring, say, can they use that again?
If they stay with you. So
If
it's,
they stay with the
it's,
same, oh, I see, okay.
it's protected to the broker. So
Okay.
you made the investment, it's your